facing Sterling could be far from over. Joining us right now to look at how we got here and where this is likely to go, I'm joined by Dave Bing, an NBA Hall of Famer who played in the 60s and 70s and has been honored as one of the 50th greatest players in NBA history. He's also mayor of Detroit, twice elected. And Carl Douglas, the lawyer who represented the great Elgin Baylor in that wrongful termination case against Donald Sterling. Mayor Bing, thank you so much for joining us. I don't know if you heard the earlier conversation with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, but I wanted to get your sense of your personal experience with race in the NBA.
Well, as far as players are concerned, we didn't have any issues because I think the players got along. We respected each other. I mean, it was a family. We never got to know the owners very well. And now that the league has expanded to the extent that it has, and the game has become such a big business, players and owners get to know each other and interact. But you know, the racism that I saw in the league was provided by fans, not so much general managers or people within the administration, and surely not the owners. But I think this is a blessing in disguise because this guy has been hiding for a long time with the kind of feelings that he has about African Americans and maybe other minorities. And now that it's out, I think other people will have to stand up and make sure that this is not going to happen again. The owners and the league has to take a strong stand against him.
Well, 2 points. You know, one of the weird things about the NBA is when you watch the championship game, usually the 7th game of the final series, the players stand back and some little owner comes out and receives the award. I've always thought that was unlike any other sport, where the owner gets to get the Academy Award when he's not been on the field. Is that weird? Does that seem weird, those moments when the owner gets to be the star?
I guess because he's signing the paychecks, he can kind of do what he wants to do.
Yeah.
And the owners and the league leadership are, you know, I mean, they work very close together. It is a players' league, and I'm so proud of the players that are standing up and coming out against this because I think there's unanimity across the board for all of us. We are really disgusted with this, and now we've got to make some changes that need to be made. You
made a point about the fans, and of course I grew up in this country. I'm about your age, I think, and I remember the cat calls, and we all know the crap that goes on, and people had a few drinks at a game. But wasn't it kind of a great thing that when the league became heavily African-American in the last 20 or 30 years, that the fan base grew? Is there any evidence that people were turned off by the fact of the successful efforts by so many African players to just dominate the positions?
No, I don't think fans were turned off at all. I think people who pay money, they want to be entertained. Yeah. And I think the black players have been superior in their athleticism, and because of that, a lot of guys have become stars over the years in the NBA. But I don't think it was detrimental to the fan base at all. The fan base grew. People appreciated the skills and the talents that the African Americans brought to the league, and the league benefited from that. So now that we have one of our owners saying and doing and acting the way he is, it's really, I think it's up to the other owners and the leadership within the league itself to take a stand and make a position.
Let me bring in Carl Douglas. He's a lawyer and attorney who's been representing the great Elgin Baylor. We all loved Elgin Baylor growing up, and he got involved as a management guy in his tussle with this guy Sterling. What did you learn about Sterling, the person, when you were in this legal fight?
Well, I learned that he was defiant and angry in his denials of racism. I had a chance, Chris, over the course of 5 or 6 different sessions, a total of more than 20 different hours, to ask this man questions, to sit across a table from him while he was under oath, peppering him with questions about allegations of racism that date back into the early 80s. So I was not surprised one bit when I heard those disgusting tapes. I learned that he was defiant and angry in his denials of racism. I had a chance, Chris, over the course of 5 or 6 different sessions, a total of more than 20 different hours, to ask this man questions, to sit across a table from him while he was under oath, peppering him with questions about allegations of racism that date back into the early 80s. So I was not surprised one bit when I heard those disgusting tapes.
Well, did you ever hear any lingo like that, language like that? There was a plantation, I'm the owner, the old white guy, and I got an African American or a minority girlfriend. I got African Americans working for me, but I'm the big boss in the big house, and that's my attitude about the slaves or whatever he was thinking they were. Did you actually hear words like on this tape in those conversations or not?
I heard allegations from my client, Elgin Baylor, that he spoke of always wanting a process where a southern white coach would be coaching these young black players. I remember allegations early in the 80s when he spoke to a first-round draft pick and said, that's an awful lot of money for a poor black kid. You better take that money. I remember hearing allegations. He would bring women into the locker rooms and admire the black bodies of his athletes as they came from the shower. So these allegations against him were all too reminiscent of the things that I'd heard that go back 20, even 30 years or more.
Sounds like he's got a whole plethora of problems, the way you describe it, Carl. Do you think more than I thought of when you started talking there? What do you make of the legal situation he's in now? And I want to go back to Mayor Bing, Dave Bing. Do you think he can get cashiered out of this league by any legal means at this point, or is it all going to be market forces at this point? Harold Ford, the former congressman who was commentating this morning on Morning Joe, said it's going to have to be market forces, these brand names that they're pulling their sponsorship of the team. It's going to have to be that kind of thing that jars this thing loose.
Well, Chris, I've come to learn that the only color that Donald Sterling cares about is the color green. So all fair-minded Clipper fans who are outraged like I am have to speak with their pocketbooks. I love the coach Doc Rivers. Chris Paul is one of my most favorite basketball players of all time. But I will join and stand with Magic Johnson and never again step foot into the Staples Center so long as Donald Sterling is an owner. And what has to happen really? There are only 29 people on this earth that will be able to influence Donald Sterling. He's a billionaire. A fine of $1 million or even $10 million would be pittance to him. But rather, the 29 owners getting together collectively would be able to influence him into giving up his franchise and then walking away a very rich man.
Let me get back to Dave Bing. Sir, thank you for being on, especially you. And I wanted to ask you about what do you think will happen here? Do you think there's any chance that the forces of humanity will prevail here, or is it going to be dollars and the sponsors? Maybe they'll be working together.
Well, I think they need to work together, no doubt in my mind about that. But I think, once again, the other owners in the league are really going to have to step up because it's a very small community of owners of professional sports. And I don't think any of them want to be associated with somebody who thinks like this, who feels like that. But it's going to be market-driven, absolutely no doubt about it. So a fine, I agree with Carl, a fine for whatever the amount is going to be, is going to be a pittance, because here's a guy who's a billionaire or multi-billionaire. I think I would not want to play for him, and I'm sure a lot of players on that team now don't want to play for him. But it's unfortunate because there's just a small window of opportunity for the players on this team. They are a team that could compete for the championship had it not been for this. And I'm not sure they're going to get over this, and it's just too bad for the players on the team.
Yeah, they still have to face these games.